Good morning and welcome to your Farm and Home Show. I'm Kristi Shive, and this morning we're visiting with Nan Montgomery. She's Ohio County's Family and Consumer Sciences agent. Good morning, Nan.
Good morning, Kristi.
Nan, today you are going to talk to us about using herbs in our kitchen. And I know that there are truly so many benefits to using herbs and spices in our dishes.
Yes, there are. So oftentimes people actually use herbs and spices interchangeably, but that's actually um, incorrect. So herbs are going to be the leafy part of the plant, and they don't necessarily have a woody part of the stem, and they can be fresh or dried. And then spices are actually completely different. So spices are going to be like the root or bark or other types of plant substances. So it could be like examples would be cinnamon, paprika, nutmeg, cumin. And then when we talk about our herbs, it would be like rosemary, thyme, mint, oregano, and so on. So there is a little bit of a difference between when you cook with herbs and then when you cook with spices.
Now, Nan, I know that many of us sometimes use dried herbs and sometimes we use fresh. Can you talk to us about the difference between using dried versus fresh?
Absolutely. So, dried herbs, when you choose to use a dry herb, you want to make sure that you add the dried herbs at the beginning of your dish for the cooking process. And you also want to make sure that you are activating the herbs. So, when you choose that dried herb, you'd want to put it in your hand, or pick up that herb and kind of do like this and toss it onto your dish. And that's kind of going to get those oils activated, and so that it gives your dish flavor. And then 1 teaspoon of dried herb is the equivalent to fresh herbs. So you just kind of need to keep that in mind if a recipe says dried or fresh, that you have the proper equivalents for your dish, because you don't want to overpower your dish, because herbs have a great flavor. When it talks about fresh herbs, you want to add fresh herbs at the end of the cooking time for your dish. And you also want to make sure that those herbs are chopped up, since you're using fresh, so that the oils are activated in those in fresh herbs. Most will last about 1 week in the refrigerator, but not all herbs like to be refrigerated. For example, basil would be an herb that you would not want to store in the refrigerator. You would want to store it at room temperature.
So we know that we want to use dried herbs at the beginning of the dish, and then if we're using fresh, we add them towards the end. When buying fresh herbs, Nan, are there things that we should be watchful of?
Yes. So you want to make sure that the leaves of the herbs, they aren't wilted. You want to make sure they don't have signs of mold or black spots on them. And then sometimes your herbs come already pre-cut and packaged. You want to check those to make sure that there's no slime in the packaging or residue, and that the leaves are bright in color, and that also sometimes the way they're packaged, make sure it's that they're still in dates, because that's when you're going to get the best flavor from buying those herbs.
Nan, I have seen some pretty neat cooking tools that we can use when preparing our herbs. Do you have anything to show us today?
Yes, so we have some herb shears, and these are actually different than your kitchen shears that you might have. So these are specially designed to cut up herbs. So instead of you sitting and having to chop your herbs, they will make all the herbs that you cut with these in a uniform length, and it just makes it a little bit easier. So all you have to do is insert your herbs and you start cutting. And then we also have an herb stripping tool. And so you can insert your herb into this tool, and then it will take the leaves off the herbs. And it just saves you time from having to take your hands and pick off all the leaves from the stem of the herbs that you're using. So it just they're just easier tools that you can use in your kitchen when you get ready to cook with herbs.
All right, Nan, great information today. Thank you so much for being with us. If you would like more information on cooking with herbs, be sure to contact your local extension office. Thanks for joining us today on the Farm and Home Show, and we'll see you next time.